David.
Okay.
Welcome, summer, Stony Brook. Almost June. Tomorrow's June, or Saturday's June.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow's June. Right. Am I still in? I better be in. What else about Manhattan? Oh, there's 2 days ago was Manhattan Henge. You ever hear about that? Where the sun lines up with all the streets, and as it's setting, it shoots these beams down the cross street. It's very beautiful. I've seen it here or there. It'll come back in July, but it's about this time. No, about 8 o'clock. About this time is when the sun kind of does interesting spatial things on this. But first assignment for the class was people in the YouTube audience. To go out and find from your parents, family, grandparents, great-grandparents, records, photographic records, because this class is entitled Interpreting Visual Culture, or Introduction to Visual Culture. What better thing would you want to or should know about than your own visual culture, which is your family? So, David, tell me, how did that go? And remember, gang, don't be, the process is the product too. Like, you could record the difficulty of going and getting those photos. Like I said, get your parents' narrative with it. Maybe mom and dad didn't want to talk about it or whatever. How was your process with you?
Yeah, the process was very difficult. My mom had no interest in doing anything with the project. She told me she has no photos, none, of her family.
The first word, none, not out there.
First word, none. Then I found one. She's one of 8, but it only had like her and like 4 of her siblings.
Does she speak to her siblings?
Yeah, she speaks to all of them, but for some reason she has no photos, and then she's like, well, my mother's still alive, go talk to your father, his parents are dead, he'll have all the photos. So then eventually I'm like, okay.
Well, what did that mean? It's
I
like
don't
my
mom's still alive. So
alive.
She has,
the dead people have photographs.
It's like they've died, so they passed it on.
Oh, meaning grandma
has
the
everything.
Photos. Where's grandma for you?
7 hours from here. It's like Rochester.
Upstate.
Yeah, upstate.
Yeah,
so.
okay. And you live down here, or the parents live down here too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live with my parents. We live down here.
Okay.
And so.
Parents still together?
Yeah, still together.
Okay.
Then I just abandoned her side of the family, and I focused more on my dad's side, who actually had a decent amount of pictures.
Oh, he did? So
yeah.
how was Dad, and all of you, how was Dad receptive? How was he like, what class are you taking? What's going on? How was it?
He's like, it's like, elementary school again, because he remembered those projects. We had to, it was like, talk about your family tree, and like,
yeah, the things that people clam up about when they get older is like, no, don't want to go there. Got that bad uncle tucked away somewhere or whatever. So that was weird. So what kind of photos do you think your grandmother in Rochester has?
I mean, I've seen a lot of the photos. She has a lot of photos, which is why I was so surprised. Like, we have no photos. Like, how can you be one of...
Who said that? Your mom did.
Yeah, how can you
be one of 8? I'm one of 8.
And there's no photos.
Wow. So you think Mom was trying to snow you a little? Like, get off the trail, you don't want to go there, just don't go there, right? Or what? And what's her...
A little bit.
What's her ethnicity?
She's Italian-American.
Oh, right. She's the...
Yeah, my grandma was born in Italy, and then a couple of her kids were born in Italy too, but my mom was born in America.
Okay. And your dad's side?
My dad's side, I didn't really know that much about my dad's side, so it was interesting to get.
Was he Italo-American?
No, he's a bunch of things like European, but he's been here. His family's been here since like the 1600s.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
So that makes him like daughters of the American Revolution and all the qualifying for all of it. And so finally he maybe opened up, huh?
Yeah, I found out I have like Cherokee in me, like partially, which is kind of cool.
Far out, man. And has anyone done this thing with the, what is it, Heritage Online or these online services things?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like something like, there's something like, if you go to like the libraries and stuff and like trace back your lineage.
Well, it's Ancestry.com online. So this is interesting. So remember, gang, we just started. Process is product. I know how you Stony Brook students feel like if it's not all polished, don't even quit now and don't even do it. It's like, no, that's not the way life works. The process of finding this could be a very interesting story that ultimately goes in your bigger document, in the interactive performance, in whatever we have to do. So what else? What did you start? And I asked studio audience, studio audience, YouTube audience. Hi, Mom. I asked to, a lot of people in this class, what do you really want? And I said, come on in, Caesar. We're doing the interview. Grab a seat somewhere. I asked for, David, socioeconomic leverage. Just put that old crowbar of socioeconomics. What little or a lot you know of in your young lives, we'll talk about that later today. What are the tools of, like, you stuck it right into your family, you pried it open, and all the little bugs went away, and so basically we're talking about what is class, what is race, and what is gender to your family. Did you start to find these things out by thinking about, and what is history to your family?
Yeah, I definitely started to figure these things out. It was interesting. I didn't realize how many doctors I had in my dad's side. Not his parents, but his parents' parents, and before that, and all the cousins that were just so ingrained in the doctorate field, and then how much the rite of passage for men in joining the Army, and I totally did not realize how many my cousins in Navy SEAL. I never knew that.
Oh, so this came up.
Yeah.
Are you very close to your cousins?
Yeah, I have my family's huge. So
even on your father's side?
Even on my father's side. It's
how many
big.
siblings did he have?
He's only one of 3, but his mom was one of 6, and then his dad was one of.
Well, we talked about infant mortality in the old days. What was it, Johann Sebastian pooped out 20 kids and only 6 survived or whatever. Well, it was.
Yeah, it was just really interesting, and how World War II and that whole thing, and
that was a game changer.
How his dad went through that, and his dad met his mom and they got married, they decided to have kids before he had to go back to the war, just in case
on a furlough or something.
Yeah, just in case.
Wow, there's a subject. And of course, studio audience, I wanted you to lock into this project on the possibility that you polish such a really great project so that you feel, wow, I want to submit this to a documentary film festival. I want this film festival quality, which you can hit. You can do it in 10 minutes if you're that intuitive. It's not all the fancy stuff you do with the armature. It's just, pulling back the arrow and shooting the true story. Gender, male roles, socioeconomics, war. Did you sit down? Doctors, I come from a family of doctors too, but that's back in the old days when people, and Stony Brook still has this, is interesting. You only go to college if you want to become a doctor or lawyer, basically. I mean, that was 100 years ago when my family went to college. I said 4 generations of professors, but way back, my great-great-grandfather's great-great-grandfather was a theologian, clergyman. And then his sons, he had 7 sons, they all became doctors. It's like, what's that pattern about? Because we still get it at Stony Brook, a lot of first-generation Americans at Stony Brook, they come here, the parents say, you better be a doctor. Where on earth did that come from? And then here's another interesting thought in studio audience. I read this recently. Somewhere up to 70% of Americans, 80% of Koreans go to college. But, as opposed to something like 40% of the Swiss, right? Switzerland's a modern economy, blah, 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 blah. But half of those kids go to trade schools, right? But we know in our heart of the hearts, probably half of those Americans will end up doing jobs that they could have done just out of high school. right? Hopefully none of you. Hopefully all of you are here to, up the food. And I'm not saying, I'm not degrading trades or any. Those are extremely important. But I've had many students in my class who would be better off as plumbers, and
Better
really.
off if they just went to trade school
Oh yeah.
instead, kind of.
But now we feel that universities like Vegas, right? If you don't put your money down on the table, you will not have a future chance of winning. Combining all of this, studio audience also. Of course, I seem like this is shotgun blast, scatter shots. It's entirely meant to be that way. So what do you think about that? Family doctors. World War II was the cauldron of masculinity. It proved whether you're a man or a mouse, and then you come out and you become a doctor. Have we left that world?
I think somewhat, but somewhat we haven't either. It's just the whole economics of how you have to go to school, you have to go to college, and kind of the building the waiting point. Because basically, I think there's so many jobs that people who are even in high school can do, but it's just if everyone were to drop out and take those jobs, there would be no jobs for other people.
I know,
and go to college, even if you can't excel to the next level, you'll take a job that even though you have a college degree and you're really more intelligent, you'll get the job over someone who can do the job just as well but has a lower degree.
Right.
I feel like it creates this buffer.
Tyrell, can we go to university to learn for an education? People, you ask the typical Stony Brook, especially they go to the university to get a better job. That's the first thing out of the mouth. But do we go to universities nowadays to learn?
I believe we go with the intention of learning, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen because everyone has their own method of learning, and then you're not guaranteed to get the type of teaching type that would suit you. You could have a great teacher for A, B, and C, but if you're learning type D, then you're not going to learn a thing. You're just going to be in that class wasting time that you could be learning something else or something better.
Catherine, is modern education become a form of a bubble economy or a bubble, and therefore kind of a holding company? Is it warehousing? Have you ever felt warehoused at Stony Brook?
I think so. I'm a journalism major, and I feel that I could have gotten all of these skills if I had just spoken to someone else, or even had the experience with an on-hands experience with a journalist. I could have had the same experience. So
right.
It pretty much is.
Pretty much it. Well, hopefully this class isn't about warehousing. I truly, deeply, sincerely hope to form you guys into some, not just a product, but a process myself. As I said in the class 1, I hope to turn you into colleagues, and colleagues who are professionals. So, Caesar, you've been out in the world, and you work now, and you've been in the military, and, all the class here works. So, what is this concept of university as warehousing, or university as warehousing / hazing, because there's plenty of sadomasochism in every society. And what degree have you learned from the university as a place where it gives you the critical boots on the ground, the Bowie knife, to go and say, oh, thank God I got the Bowie knife so I can change my career. Because I got fired from this one, I can do this.
One of the things with college particularly is that what I felt is I've taken a lot of, I'll even go so far as say upper division business courses, who have level courses. These are supposed to be like the more difficult, more challenging courses at the university. And I hate to say it, but I probably learned less from those business courses at Stony Brook University than I've actually either learned on the job by a mentor or by a class not related to business at a 100 level. And what I mean by that is literally last semester I took a women and genders studies course. Women's studies 101 or something like that.
So it's got to be one of your DEC courses. For our YouTube audience, DEC is the feared and hated distribution. I deeply believe in distributionals because it's the way you sharpen the Bowie knife for the wilderness. And you're feeling these were great courses for the wilderness,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, this one course taught me more about, and I don't want to sound racist, but it taught me more about the white male patriarchal structure within this country than any business course actually even pointed out. Then
And a
also-
business course you would feel maybe in a business place that might have been predominantly white. You say, what's going on here? And it was like a roadmap, or
It was like, as we went through the course, everything that this particular professor pointed out was just like, it just became clearer and clearer to me. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting this from a 101 when you would think something like a business ethics course would actually, point that out to you, or something from that aspect.
there's a way that business courses are designed for true believers, right? Because it's like they got to be optimistic, otherwise, you don't go in cynical or whatever of the profession. But clearly, when you hit the right internship or the right job and do this, it becomes that. We're going to run it up to like 18 minutes. We can now post on YouTube about 20 minutes worth of film. This is a test run for my YouTube channel, and we'll start the class every day with an interview of all of you. And on these themes, just to relax and get the chi flowing. It's great, David. David, this is a lot. So this was in the span of 2 nights, or 1 night, Tuesday night you went back home or something after my class.
Yeah. So, well.
And you said, I want to follow up on David, on something that Caesar said. A mentor on the job. How often do we have a mentor? And I've had a few in my life, and actually looking back, I'm like happy about those old turds, and I send them a note or email to thank them every now and then, for being a mentor. I said, what? I don't remember that. How often can we expect mentors out there to tell us the straight scoop? People who aren't really your parents and aren't really siblings, but they're like siblings. They aren't really a good uncle. They're not like an uncle or aunt, but they're just somebody who takes you by the scruff of the neck and says, listen, I've seen you bashing your heads against the wall. Do it this way and not that way. Okay, enough said. Go back.
I think it just depends what environment you're working in. Completely depends. Like I was working with media and editing in John Jay. I mean, it's a criminal justice school, but they need,
You were there now, right?
Yeah. And if they do something, like they film something, I'd be one of the people who helps edit it. But they have this whole team of people who work in the media department there, and they shouldn't really be there. They're so skilled and they do other things, but just because it's a relaxed environment, it's not super competitive. You're not fighting who gets to
get your work up
Yeah,
there.
to get
Otherwise,
your work
because next year they're
up
going to
there.
lay off half the staff,
Yeah.
and you better not be that one. And yeah, that's like this cutthroat competition doesn't benefit many people.
Yeah.
Especially, we'll talk about this. I've been reading on the long tail and the way this new economy is sorting out. It's a mystery to me, but I dive in. Just what is this post-industrial economy? It's a pure mystery, and we're all trying to figure out. You guys are actually lucky because you're energetic. You got youth on your side, and you've got open minds to figure it out. Last question: did your dad and mother, your dad that you said was open about the past, did he say, son, sometimes I can't figure you out the way my parents couldn't figure me out? Did he ever say that? You said your granddad was in World War II.
Yeah, well,
What did he do? What was his...
After World War II, this was actually a more interesting part. He moved to Texas and wanted to start an oil business. Like, he wanted to have a gas station and stuff. So he just started out of nowhere and, like,